Why do powerful men never fully reveal themselves in public? Why do rulers, kings, and cunning minds walk among the crowd like ghosts, seen but never truly known? It's not paranoia, it's protection. In a world where perception is power, every careless act in public is a weapon handed to your enemies. Today, we uncover 9 things you should never do in public, because the moment you do, you give the world the script to your downfall. Number 1. Never reveal your plans. A man's power does not rest solely in what he builds, but in what he hides. To speak of your future, your ambitions, or your next move in public is to place a blade in the hands of others. The moment your intentions are known, the world begins to shape itself around them, not in your favor, but against it. Men will plot to sabotage your path, not because they hate you, but because power attracts both envy and opportunity. You must understand, when people know your destination, they position themselves to intercept you before you arrive. The wise man moves like a shadow across the public square, present but unreadable. He speaks in generalities, allowing others to project their own meaning onto his words. He offers fragments, never the full picture. In silence, he builds. In silence, he conquers. Every powerful man must learn to master the art of misleading clarity. Speak just enough to be admired, but never so much that you become predictable. The moment the public understands your motives, they begin to expect you. And what is expected is always easier to destroy. Even your allies must remain in partial darkness. Total transparency is a fool's virtue. If your plans require 10 steps, reveal only the first 2, and even then, allow room for doubt. Those closest to you must feel useful, but never essential. They must believe they are part of the strategy, yet never be allowed to control or complete it. This is not betrayal, this is survival. The kingdom falls not by invasion alone, but by anticipation. When others anticipate your next move, they take away your advantage. Keep your motives locked in the vault of your mind. Use silence as a sword and misdirection as your shield. Let others talk of the future while you quietly shape it. Number 2. Never display raw emotion. Emotion, when shown openly, becomes a language your enemies will quickly learn to read. To the untrained, emotion seems human, even noble. But in the realm of power, it is a dangerous vulnerability. Rage reveals what provokes you. Tears betray what weakens you. Joy exposes what controls you. Every flicker of raw feeling is a signal, and in the public eye, those signals do not disappear. They are stored, remembered, and later used to manipulate or undermine you. When a man in power allows his emotions to spill over in public, he forfeits control over how he is perceived, and perception is everything. A ruler, a strategist, a man who intends to move through the world with influence, he must learn to master the art of inner stillness. This does not mean the absence of emotion, but rather its total domination. Behind the curtain, feel what must be felt. But on the public stage, you must appear unmoved, composed, and sovereign over your impulses. The public must not see you shaken, not even in victory. An angry man is predictable, a weeping man is dismissible, an ecstatic man is careless. All are stripped of mystery, and mystery is the armor of power. Even those who claim to admire emotional honesty will use it to justify disobedience or distance. The moment you explode in rage or collapse in sorrow, they no longer see a leader. They see someone like themselves. And when the illusion of elevation breaks, your command does too. Do not laugh too loudly, do not cry too openly, and never shout unless you have already won. Calmness terrifies more than rage ever could. The public does not follow emotion, they follow the man who seems untouched by it. Behind the mask of self-control lies the silent domination of the crowd's imagination. Number 3. Never overindulge in humor. Laughter is a seductive weapon, but like all weapons, it must be wielded with precision. A well-timed remark can elevate your presence, disarm opposition, or expose truth without direct confrontation. But when humor becomes habitual, when a man cloaks himself too often in jest, he transforms from a strategist into a fool. The public may cheer the jester, they may adore his wit, but they will never fear him, and a man who is not feared can never truly command. In matters of power, respect must always outweigh entertainment. Excessive humor weakens the gravity of your image. When you laugh too easily, when every sentence bends toward amusement, you are signaling that nothing is serious, not even yourself. It creates the illusion that you need approval, that you crave laughter, that your words exist for the crowd's enjoyment rather than their instruction. But the ruler does not entertain, he influences. He speaks not to amuse the people, but to shape their minds. To make yourself a source of amusement is to surrender your authority for applause. Moreover, humor often disguises truth, but it also invites challenge. When you speak plainly, others hesitate to interrupt. But when you joke, you invite response. Laughter opens the door to familiarity, and familiarity is fatal to mystique. The man who makes others laugh too often becomes a peer, not a presence. And in politics, in leadership, in the pursuit of dominance, peers are disposable, symbols are not. You must become a symbol, and symbols do not giggle. A calculated jest delivered with precision and restraint is a sign of supreme confidence. But relentless joking reeks of insecurity. When you make everything light, no one will take you seriously, even when you finally speak with gravity, and by then, it is already too late. Number 4, never complain or seek sympathy. To complain in public is to announce your weakness with a trumpet. It is to stand before the crowd and confess, without being asked, that the world has bested you. The man who shares his burdens openly believes he will be met with compassion, with understanding. But this is a tragic miscalculation. The public does not respect the one who pleads for pity. They may listen, they may not, but deep within, they begin to lower you in their eyes. They see not the injustice done to you, but your inability to withstand it without breaking. When you complain, you hand over your power to the very people you seek comfort from. You tell them, "I am not in control," and in doing so, you give them license to view you as a victim. Victims do not lead. Victims do not influence. They merely react, always one step behind the world that wounds them, and those who seek sympathy become addicted to it. It becomes their only form of validation. But power is never given out of pity. It is taken through force, presence, and discipline. Sympathy is a fleeting currency. Spend it once, and you may earn silence. Spend it twice, and you will earn distance. Over time, those around you grow weary of your burdens. They do not wish to carry them. They wish to follow someone who carries their own. Even your allies will begin to question your resilience. They will see your suffering not as proof of struggle, but as a failure of strategy. And soon, your name will no longer be associated with strength, but with complaint. Speak not of what you endure. Speak only of what you will do next. The moment you stop searching for sympathy, others begin searching for your strength. Keep your wounds wrapped. Show the world only the blade. Number 5. Never apologize publicly without calculation in the theater of power. A public apology is not a gesture of humility. It is an act of surrender. When a man confesses his faults before a crowd, he places his dignity on the table and invites others to feast upon it. The illusion of strength, once shattered, is not easily restored. The public rarely sees a man's remorse as noble. More often, they see it as weakness exposed, authority crumbling, and control lost. Apology in its raw form is a ritual of lowering oneself, and in the eyes of the masses, what lowers itself is no longer above them. Those who hold power must understand that perception always outweighs truth. You may be in the right, but if your apology appears desperate, reactive, or emotional, you have already lost stature. A calculated apology, however, is a tool, a performance crafted not for healing, but for repositioning. It is not made to appease the public, but to manipulate them. It must be delivered not from the knees, but from the throne, not as a beggar, but as a tactician, redirecting blame, reinforcing control, and reasserting dominance even in contrition. To apologize wisely is to offer the illusion of accountability without compromising your authority. You accept blame only in areas that do not matter, or in moments when doing so disarms greater threats. The words may be soft, but the motive must remain hard. Never confess out of guilt. Confess only when it serves a larger game. Even then, conceal steel behind the sentiment. If you weep, let it be rehearsed. If you bow, make sure it elevates your image the moment you rise again. The crowd must never believe you are dependent on their forgiveness. Let them believe you chose to address them, not because you must, but because you are in command of even your own errors. And number 6, never engage in public arguments. A man who argues in public is a man who has already lost the silent war of perception. To debate openly, under the gaze of the crowd, is to expose your thoughts to the vultures of opinion. No matter how sharp your words, no matter how clever your logic, the very act of engaging drags you down from the pedestal of command to the arena of conflict. You become one of the many, not above them. The audience no longer sees a figure to follow. They see a contestant in a brawl, desperate to be right rather than determined to rule. Public arguments are not about truth. They are about dominance, and dominance, once shared, is no longer true power. The crowd rarely remembers who was correct. They remember who appeared rattled, who raised their voice, who hesitated, who stumbled. These are the details that stick, and they do not serve the man who wishes to remain untouchable. When you argue openly, you invite equal footing. You grant your opponent legitimacy, even if he has none. You validate his voice simply by responding to it. Power does not scream. Power does not explain itself in the streets. It observes, it calculates, and when necessary, it acts with precision behind closed doors. The wise man lets others shout into the wind while he controls the weather. When provoked in public, respond not with reaction, but with restraint. Let your silence be a mirror in which your enemy reflects only his own noise. To those watching, silence is not weakness. It is terrifying strength. It is the posture of someone who could destroy, but chooses not to, for now. When the time comes to retaliate, it must not be in front of the crowd. The most devastating blows are delivered quietly, without warning, without spectacle. Public arguments satisfy the ego, but private strategy conquers the world. And number 7, never be too available. What is always seen is eventually ignored. When a man presents himself too often, when he is easily found, easily reached, easily consumed, he is treated not as a rarity, but as a resource. The public may smile at him, they may greet him with warmth, but inwardly they begin to devalue him. Familiarity erodes mystique, and mystique is the shadow that gives shape to power. The figure who is scarce commands curiosity. The one who is ever present invites judgment, comparison, and eventually boredom. In every kingdom, the king is not seen every hour. His absence becomes a presence in itself. The less he appears, the more his image is shaped by rumor, by reverence, by projection. The unknown becomes the canvas upon which others paint strength, wisdom, and even fear. The moment you allow yourself to be overexposed, through constant appearances, casual conversations, or excessive openness, you invite the crowd to see you as ordinary, and what is ordinary cannot rule. Availability is often mistaken for kindness or leadership, but it is more often interpreted as neediness. When you are always present, always eager to be involved, the unspoken message is that you have nothing greater to attend to. That message poisons the perception of your value. The powerful do not beg for attention. They withhold it. They create hunger by silence, presence by absence. Their image grows in their shadow, not their spotlight. The strategist must learn to manage his appearances as a weapon. Show yourself only when it benefits your position, when your presence alters the atmosphere, when your silence has already built anticipation. To be rare is to be respected. To be elusive is to be remembered. Let others flood the room with their presence. You, instead, flood their minds by staying just beyond reach. Number 8. Never flaunt wealth or power. The man who parades his riches or boasts of his influence in public misunderstands the very nature of dominance. True power does not announce itself with gold chains, roaring carriages, or loud declarations. It operates in silence behind closed doors, shaping the world without demanding applause. The more you flaunt, the more you attract the eyes of the envious, the desperate, and the ambitious. They do not admire you, they mock you. They begin calculating how to take what you have, or worse, how to destroy the illusion you've created. Wealth and power, when displayed without restraint, become invitations to attack. The courtier who flashes gold is inviting the thief. The man who speaks endlessly of what he controls is telling others where to strike. In public, your posture must be modest, your appearance disciplined. Let them see stability, not extravagance. Let them sense influence, not hear boasts. Appear as a man content with less, while behind the curtain, you control more than they could ever suspect. The wise do not need to display their power because it is felt. Their presence shifts conversations. Their gaze silences rooms. Their words carry weight without the need for ornamentation. By contrast, the man who flaunts is compensating. He is telling the world, I need you to see what I have, because without it, you would see nothing at all. That is the confession of a hollow ruler. Restraint is the language of strength. In public, wear simplicity like armor. Speak little of your accomplishments. Let rumors grow in the vacuum of your silence. Let your discipline become the myth they try to decode. In this world, the most dangerous man is not the one who flaunts what he owns, but the one whose power you suspect, yet can never quite measure. Number 9. Never show confusion or indecision in the theater of power. Uncertainty is a death sentence. The crowd looks not to follow truth, but to follow certainty. They crave the man who walks with purpose, even if the path is unclear. To show confusion, to hesitate in public, is to allow doubt to take root in the minds of those who watch. They do not need to hear your thoughts falter. They need only to see it in your eyes, your pause, your silence, and the illusion of your authority begins to crumble. Leadership is not about always being right. It is about never appearing lost. Every ruler, strategist, or tactician must face moments of uncertainty. This is human, but those moments must never escape the confines of the mind. The man who leads must always project clarity, even in chaos. When asked a question he does not know, he reframes it. When faced with conflicting advice, he chooses swiftly and accepts the consequences. For the public does not remember the complexity of your dilemma. They remember only the appearance of your hesitation. Indecision breeds instability. It opens doors to challengers, to whisperers, to those who think they can decide in your place. It creates space for others to fill, and that space becomes a throne for someone else's ambition. If the people suspect you are lost, they begin to search for another guide. Even your allies will begin to doubt, not because they do not believe in your intentions, but because you no longer radiate certainty. To lead is to perform control, especially when you have none. The true strategist makes a wrong decision with conviction rather than a perfect one with hesitation. Confidence is not about knowing, it is about appearing to know. The world will forgive your errors, but it will not forgive your doubt. Conclusion: power is not lost in great battles or sudden betrayals. It slips away quietly, through gestures unnoticed, through habits unexamined, through moments when a man forgets that the world is always watching. The public does not need proof of your weakness. They only need a glimpse, a suggestion, a single act that cracks the illusion. And once the illusion breaks, so does your influence. Those who rise and remain above do not do so by accident. They move with intention, they speak with calculation, and above all, they understand that public life is a stage where every misstep writes its own consequence. To walk among others while remaining untouchable is the true art of leadership, not through force, not through noise, but through mastery of self. In a world of constant exposure, mystery becomes power. In a crowd desperate to be seen, the invisible man commands the most attention. Discipline, restraint, and control are no longer virtues. They are weapons. Use them. Be seen only when it benefits you. Speak only when it deepens your silence. And never forget, your downfall will not come from your enemies, but from what you reveal.